But what we do have going on, we got the return of the NBA. Last thing we're going to talk about. I was going to ask you right off the rip.
Yep.
I had this discussion with somebody else also, but I wanted to see what you thought. Winning a title through COVID. Winning a COVID title.
Oh, God. We're going to do this one. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just coming right out. Is winning a COVID title going to be looked at as a greater accomplishment than winning it during the regular season? During a regular
Of course it is. I think, of course, just because on the face of it, you had this start and restart, right? And we're in a global pandemic. You're having to, quote unquote, give up a lot to go live in this bubble and if your family doesn't come with you, like you're without your family for potentially like 3 months. There's a lot of puts and takes with it. We're also in this like very weird space from a racial inequality, and we're all striving to do better with Black Lives Matter and all those type of things. So from that perspective, yeah, it's a difficult year. I just think it's not the most difficult year to ever win a championship, but like to think about it, like teams, especially, and I'm going to use LeBron because I know we all want to talk about him.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron teams typically like peak they start to peak at a certain time, right? They gain steam.
Right.
I think if you're one of those teams, right, who were gaining steam, confidence, you could look at the Celtics and like what Jason Tatum was starting to put on, like he was starting to figure it out. Brandon Ingram was starting to figure it out. To then have to stop, not be able to play for a little bit, get a little bit out of shape, right? You're at your parents' house or doing whatever. You're just like you're not in a normal situation.
Mm-hmm.
To then come back and pull that all together. And in some cases, right, the Lakers are not going to be without their full team. I think it's hard. And if someone gets it down there, right, if the bubble is compromised in some way and you lose a big-time player and you're still able to win, I think that's going to be pretty crazy to see.
Yeah, so you're going to have to plug and play players. Like Michael Beasley getting signed was never going to happen during the regular season.
Right. Our JR to be for being 100.
Oh yeah, no, that too. Like JR would have been, continuing to sit on the bench and would not have his possible redemption shot of what he did for the rebound up in Golden State a few years ago.
Listen, the Lakers have signed now Deion Waiters and J.R. Smith to play together.
I'm telling, if you know you can ball, and you can possibly fudge some stuff on your resume a little bit. Hey, I played D3 or I played NAIA at Southern Poly out of Atlanta, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, who's the coach of Southern Poly?" Be like, "Oh, you can't look at it anymore because Southern Poly doesn't exist. It's Kennesaw State." But you just gotta take my word for it. Put up some highlights, have a connect, get you this 10-day contract, people. Because look at that. I mean, Dame Dollar said he really didn't want to play, but obviously he's going to have to play. He's gearing up to play. He's got the workout videos out there right now. Yeah. And, coming down there with the flight with the team. But a lot of players are still wanting to back out because you don't want to put yourself at risk or be away from your family in this bubble that you think is supposed to protect you. So like everything that you said, I do think mustering up the strength to not have that peak at the moment. You're not rolling. You have these plug and play players that haven't been in the system with you, at least for this year. They might have played with you in the past, but for this year, they have to catch the flow of how everything's going. I think it's going to be tough. I think with all things considered, I would say this would be a harder route to win a championship.
Yeah.
And flow with me too, because does LeBron get his wine baths? What cryotherapy is coming down? What therapist that he brings with himself to get himself ready as an older player? Do you have that at your expense? Did they bring all that in? As a younger player, you have to stay inside the bubble. That's just it. That's just it. You have to just be inside the bubble. I mean, Kemba says he's going to be fine with it, but hey, kissing me down the street, they got themselves a boom boom room down there, man. They got a cabaret. James Harden like to be in them cabarets now. So
I think that's the thing is like who messes up and sneaks someone in the bubble, right?
Exactly. And then it just takes one, like we've seen from Korea. You're just one person to then start spreading everything. I mean, Rudy showed it too. It just takes one. And that is the biggest question. And like, it goes back to what we were talking about with college football, and John Harbaugh was sitting there saying, having players on campus is the safest place for them to be, theoretically speaking. I don't disagree with that. But then you take into account that coaches always believe that players are doing exactly what they're instructed to do. And that's never the case. Do
you really think that? I've never thought that. I think coaches always think the worst. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just like you're dealing with 18 to 21-year-old kids.
Well, I think coaches understand that, but what you have to put out to the media is that that's not going to happen. So you can't, because if you gave out because coaches know players. They know a player that, like, I got the dumbest player on my team, but let me tell you, Buddy will run for days. I can trust him doing that, but anything that is off the field, I can't trust him. But you can't say that. But coaches, like you said, coaches know their players. From the smartest player down to the dumbest player, and you hope that they'll follow along. But you're like, I mean, there's a 30% chance he'll follow, but after that, it is what it is. So I think the bubble, I hope it doesn't get broken. And I think the biggest thing here is the fines that they're going to come into play. I don't know if you saw at a Toronto, if a baseball player leaves, out of the ballpark or anything, that's a $750,000 fine.
That's not a baseball. That's a government fine.
That was a government thing for Toronto. Okay. Yeah. So like, you have to bring a monetary impact that large for professional players. But on the flip side, for the non-professional, the collegiate players, there's no way that the bubble would work out. That would get burst. But
who do you think with that? So with what you just said there, I love what you said about someone I think actually just wrote this article about like how is LeBron going to handle the bubble? Like, because he has a lot of things, right?
Right.
Chefs, the cryotherapy, everything he does. He's 35 years old. Who do you feel like is best equipped from a team perspective to win? And I'm going to give you my two teams.
Okay.
Mine are the Rockets, just because I think James Harden and Westbrook got to rest.
Yeah. That explosion got to rest.
Exactly. And Westbrook also, I think, figured it out. I hate saying that because Westbrook's 31 years old, but like he seems to have tapped into what we've all wanted him to tap into, which is just like every time you get the ball, attack the basket. Like, don't settle for a 17-footer, just attack.
Mm-hmm.
And now the thing we've always talked about with James Harden is like he gets tired throughout the season. Well, now he just has to get through 8 games, right, to get into the playoffs, and then let's see what happens. I think them. I also think the Celtics, and I think we forget Kemba's been hurt most of the season.
That's
now true. Kemba and Gordon Hayward, really, right? I think Gordon Hayward with the whole like all lives matter thing was ridiculous. But anyways,
didn't see it.
But yeah, like you get Kemba back healthy, and Jason Tatum was hitting another stride, right?
Yeah.
And so you pair Jason Tatum, new stride. They're like that team seems really together since Kyrie left.
Yeah.
And if you can get anything out of Hayward, like that team's crazy. That team to me is the team coming out of the East.
I got no disagreement with both of your teams, to be truthfully honest with you. I actually fully agree. The only thing I can throw in for a wrinkle would be the Clips. And if the Clips it's about figuring it out. It's really PG because Kawhi has his way, and then also with the lower amount of games, it is going to be higher intensity on them. Mm-hmm. But if they're healthy throughout and they kind of get that figured out, I think that they have the defensive pressure that can win them this tourney. Because you have to think about, I'm thinking about this like the NCAA March Madness tournament. So I agree wholeheartedly with the Rockets and with the Celtics. And I also think another thing with the Celtics that makes them a dangerous threat is Stevens is not that far removed from having to manage his past Butler teams through the NCAA tourney. And so you have a relatively young team that can run and gun, and a coach that understands what you need to do to platoon players to get you that rest you need with short rest that you have to your next game from group play and then through the playoffs. So I think you have that benefit from a coach standpoint and that young team hitting the stride and being cohesive. And then on the flip side and out in the West, I will have one dark horse.
Okay.
That you're going to think is crazy.
Yeah,
but
probably.
the Rockets, with how much firepower they have, is built for this type of tourney. You get your group play, you play your 8 games,
Yep.
and then you just you're in stride, and it's exactly what fits into the high intensity way that Westbrook needs these games to roll. And I think it feeds into that. And then when, like you said before, if James Harden goes on a lull, Westbrook's right there, and Westbrook cannot be stopped. As well as Gordon hitting his threes from the outside. So they're a dangerous team. But my dark horse coming out of the West, second team out of the East, is because Giannis started hitting threes, is the Bucks. But Pelicans.
Oh, God.
I know ESPN wanted me to say this. We have no affiliation with them, but shout out to if you want to bring us on. I know they got like the first primetime game. The Pelicans could. Think about it. They actually did not look that bad. No. Zion looks like he wasn't on them beignets. Couldn't have been because Cafe du Monde was closed. Buddy coming out here looking brawly now. Lonzo just out here dishing, hitting threes. And then old boy out here, Slinky looking good while he playing. Brandon Ingram. I just think he's got like.
No, I got where you're going with that. I just think it's tough for them, man. Like they still technically are behind the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
So in 8 games, do they catch them? Like what happens here? I mean, they're set up to do it. If you've seen, like Memphis has like the 3rd hardest schedule, where the Pelicans have like the 4th easiest schedule.
Yeah.
Right.
They did it on purpose. They want the Pels to be here because of Zion.
Listen, we all know that, but my thing with that, like, again, the whole stride thing is a big thing for me. I think now, from what I've heard, right, JJ Redick is in amazing shape. Zion looks like he's in really good shape. Jackson Hayes comes back from that injury, so now they've got like a real rim protector essentially. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing for me is, what is your backcourt? Because Drew Holiday, as good as he is, kind of needs a second fiddle essentially. And
I agree with that.
And JJ, as good as JJ is, right? JJ also like takes those breaks throughout the like game. Like he'll play like, I forget what his schedule is, right? But he'll play like 6-7 minutes, comes out. Lonzo was so up and down throughout the season. Like, can you trust him to give you those minutes at point guard and at the 2 when JJ's out? Mm-hmm. And I'm not a big Josh Hart guy, so like that's where my scare for them is like just their true backcourt, and if Lonzo can give you something from an off, like scoring the ball all the time, right? He's so good. He's got great vision. He plays great defense. I just think he's going to need to score, and can he do that consistent enough over 8 games to get them in the playoffs?
Well, the last thing I'll say about them is the low key stat: JJ Redick has never missed the playoffs.
That's true.
That's all I can say. But this is our first quick hitter installment. This is how we're going to be doing it, people. 10 minutes. Continue to listen to us. Keep rocking with us. This is To The Max.